Hi, I'm Riley. I'm 28 and I live in Austin, Texas. For almost 2 years, my husband Marcus and I walked a path lined with heartbreak and hope. Fertility treatments became our routine, clinic rooms, silent prayers, emotional ups and downs that felt endless. It was a cruel cycle of rising hope and crashing disappointment. Until, one quiet morning, everything changed. 2 pink lines. I stared at that pregnancy test for what felt like forever, frozen, hands trembling, heart pounding. Tears spilled before I could speak. That tiny sign meant everything. It was the culmination of years of pain, patience, and the strength it took to keep believing when hope felt like a fading whisper. But with the joy came fear. I had lost 2 pregnancies before. And grief like that doesn't leave quietly, it tears at you, piece by piece. I made myself a promise, this time, I'd protect my heart and my baby. We chose silence. No announcements, no baby bump selfies, no family group texts. Only Marcus and I would carry this fragile secret. Well, Marcus and Victoria. Some may call it overly cautious. Some may call it selfish. But when you've felt the weight of loss, you learn, hope needs space to breathe, free from expectation, free from pity, free from the agony of explaining yet another goodbye. My family is the kind that treats Tuesday dinner like a holiday. The Hendersons don't need much to throw a party. A neighbor's dog learns a trick? That's enough for cake and balloons. And my sister, Victoria, she's a force of her own. 3 years younger, ambitious, stunning, unapologetically bold. The kind of woman who walks into a room and owns it. Last year, she nearly became the perfect bride. A dream wedding planned in Miami, a guest list of hundreds, and then, the unthinkable. The night before the ceremony, her charming fiancé slept with her maid of honor. Victoria found out while trying on her gown for one final fitting. The next day, there was no wedding. Just her, collapsed on the living room floor, sobbing beside unopened gifts and crushed dreams. That heartbreak changed her. Her warmth cooled. Her smile sharpened. She buried herself in work, building walls no one could break. So when she was promoted to director at the city's largest financial firm, she threw a party worthy of a queen. A rooftop bash on South Congress, fairy lights and champagne. My parents called me 3 times that morning, buzzing like she'd won gold at the Olympics. Riley, you have to be there. This is a big moment for your sister. Everyone's counting on you. I wanted to say yes. I tried to say yes. But every time they asked, the anxiety crept higher. My pregnancy wasn't showing much, but I knew the questions would come. I couldn't steal Victoria's spotlight. Not again. Not now. Marcus saw the worry in my eyes. He took my hand. Go, Riley. We'll keep this ours a little longer. Let her have her moment. So I did. That evening, the Austin sky hung heavy, like it knew something I didn't. I stood in front of the mirror, smoothing down the olive green maxi dress I'd picked carefully. Soft fabric to hide the curve. A cardigan for coverage. Makeup to blur the puffiness from sleepless nights. Everything chosen with one purpose, to keep the night about her. You okay? Marcus asked from the doorway. I'm fine, I said, smiling. It felt shaky. But it was all I had. The venue shimmered with fairy lights. Laughter spilled from the rooftop like music. Victoria called it the city's view for winners, and tonight, she was the star. The moment she saw me, her voice rang out across the room. Riley. You actually showed up. She hugged me tight, her eyes lighting up with a blend of surprise and approval. I thought you'd ditch with a work excuse again. How could I miss your big day? I said, smiling, careful not to hold on too long. She paused. Just for a beat. A subtle glance at my body. Then moved on. The night unfolded in a blur of clinking glasses and congratulations. I kept to the corners, sipping lemonade, avoiding hugs that lingered too long. Marcus kept his distance, watching over me without drawing attention. Then came Aunt Beth. My dad's sister. 50-something, fierce, and famous in our family for her sixth sense. She could read people like books, and tonight, she was flipping through my pages. "Riley," she said, eyes narrowing. "You've filled out. But not in the usual way. Your skin's glowing. Your eyes are different. What are you hiding under that pretty little dress?" I froze. I felt my fingers tighten around the glass. My mind scrambled for an excuse. Any excuse. And then, she reached out. Lightly touched my stomach. Her eyes widened. In that moment, the secret we had guarded so fiercely began to unravel. Then, as if I'd handed her the punchline to the greatest joke in the world, Aunt Beth let out a full, ringing laugh. "Oh my goodness, Riley." "I knew it," she squealed. "Congratulations, sweetheart. This should have been the opening act of the night." My cheeks flared, hot and burning. I reached for her hand, lowering my voice urgently. "Aunt Beth, please," I whispered, "keep it between us. Tonight is Victoria's night. I don't want to steal that from her." But asking Aunt Beth to stay quiet was like telling a summer breeze not to stir the leaves. She gave me a cheeky pat on the cheek, her grin wide enough to light the room. "Oh honey, the family's been waiting for this moment longer than we waited for Marcus to propose. Don't you dare be selfish now and keep this joy to yourself." I watched in horror as she made a beeline for the stage, my heart hammering so loud it drowned out the music. And then it happened, the moment I feared. "Everyone. May I have your attention for just a moment?" Aunt Beth's voice boomed over the microphone, slicing clean through the laughter and clinking glasses. "I have wonderful news to share." My stomach sank. I felt every head turn toward me, every whisper thicken the air around me. But nothing hit harder than Victoria's eyes, cold, sharp, unreadable, piercing straight through me. "My beloved niece, Riley," Aunt Beth declared with the triumph of a lottery winner, "is expecting a baby." For a second, the world went completely still. Then came the flood. Cheers. Claps. Excited gasps. Hands grasped mine. Arms hugged me. Faces glowed. Questions poured. It was everything I had tried desperately to avoid, and it was all unraveling at once. Marcus's hand found mine, firm and steady. His eyes searched mine, full of worry and silent apology. But through the blur, all I saw was Victoria. Alone in the corner. Her glass of red wine glinting like blood under warm lights, her smile twisted, brittle. In that instant, I knew. The night was no longer hers. I barely pulled away from the circle of joyful relatives when I saw her ghost across the balcony doors, her silhouette silhouetted against the city lights. I didn't need to think. I had to go. "Give me a sec, Marcus," I murmured, weaving through the crowd toward the cool night air. She stood at the railing, her back to me, eyes locked on the shimmering sprawl of Austin. When I stepped closer, she didn't turn. "So," she rasped, "you finally found a way to make the night all about you." I swallowed hard. "Victoria, I told Aunt Beth not to say anything. You know I didn't want this." "Oh really?" She whirled around, a hollow laugh scraping from her throat. Her eyes glinted with ice. "You wore the oversized dress like a spotlight. Lurking in the corner, just waiting for someone to notice." "Don't do this," I whispered. "Don't what?" she hissed, stepping closer. "Don't point out the obvious? You've always been this way, Riley. Married before me. Praised by Mom for being the mature one. And now, when I'm finally the bride, it just so happens you're pregnant? How convenient." The words gutted me. "Victoria, you're crossing a line. You know how hard Marcus and I have tried. I've lost 2 babies. I didn't. Oh, I know, she snapped. 2 losses, right? So this time you just had to tell the world. Get the sympathy early, just in case. I flinched. Her cruelty hit like a slap. You really just said that? My voice shook. You think I forgot who sat with you the night your fiancé ghosted you? I shot back, heat rising in my chest. Who cancelled your wedding vendors while you cried yourself to sleep? I was there, Victoria. Every time. She didn't blink. Her nails dug into her palms. And yet I'm still the failure. Your shadow. While you shine, I disappear. I bit my lip so hard it bled. My hand moved instinctively to my belly. I never wanted to compete. I love you. But if you hate me for being happy, that's on you, not me. She stared, red-eyed and rigid. You can fake nobility for the rest of them, but not with me, Riley. She turned on her heel. Her voice trailed behind her like shattered glass. Congratulations. You win. Happy now? I didn't follow. The wind blew cold. Her resentment drifted with it. And just like that, something between us shattered beyond repair. Back inside, the party had dimmed. Guests trickled out. The upstairs lounge now held the laughter. Marcus spotted me. Are you okay? Can we just go? I whispered. He nodded, gently leading me upstairs toward the coat room. A strange design choice to have it so far from everything, but I didn't care. I just wanted out. Marcus left to get the car. I reached for my coat. That's when I heard the footsteps. Slow. Unsteady. Heavy. I turned and froze. Victoria stood in the doorway, wine glass in hand, eyes glassy and bloodshot. We're not done, she slurred. Victoria, I sighed. You're drunk. Go home. Rest. She stepped forward, her voice jagged and sharp. You always win. You always get the cheers. Me? I'm the joke. Tonight was mine. I didn't take anything from you, I said quietly. I never wanted this attention. Then prove it, she snarled. But instead, it was my parents who showed up first. That afternoon, just as Marcus stepped out to grab snacks, the hospital room door creaked open, and there they were. My father, Douglas Henderson, entered first, all rigid posture and unreadable expression. Behind him, my mother, Linda. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but her stare, cold. Ice cold. Riley, my father said, his voice flat, we need to talk. I clutched the hospital blanket tighter over my belly, the dull throb in my wrist reminding me I didn't have the luxury of breaking down. Not now. I'm listening, I said. Say what you need to say. It was my mother who spoke first. Her tone sounded soft, almost pleading, but underneath it lay judgment, sharp and unmistakable. Victoria told us everything, she began. She had too much to drink, lost control. No one wanted this, Riley. No one meant for things to go this far. I laughed. Dry. Hollow. Empty. Lost control? You mean the shove that nearly killed my baby? Or was that just her way of checking if my pregnancy was real? My father's face tightened, his voice low and grim. Victoria was wrong, we're not denying that. But she's your sister. Your blood. Are you really taking this to court? This family can't survive a scandal like that. Family. The word rang empty, like an excuse dressed up in tradition. What about me, Dad? Am I not family too? You're blowing this out of proportion, my mother snapped, clutching her purse like it was holding her together. Victoria's not a bad person. She's struggling. You know that. One mistake and you're going to ruin her future? That's when Marcus returned. He stood in the doorway, sandwich box in hand, his expression darkening as he registered the scene. Slowly, he stepped in. "I think I deserve a seat in this conversation," Marcus said, his voice calm, but firm, anchored. "Riley almost died. Our baby went through a trauma none of you seem to even mention. All I hear is family and Victoria's career. What about Riley? Who's standing up for her?" Silence fell like a curtain. My father crossed his arms, staring Marcus down. "We're aware of the consequences," he said. "But sometimes, as family, we must yield to protect what remains. Do you understand the fallout of a lawsuit?" "Don't talk to me about fallout," Marcus replied, eyes blazing. Victoria pushed my wife down the stairs. "She doesn't get to walk away with a slap on the wrist." My mother collapsed into a chair, sobbing. "Riley, she's your sister. How can you be this heartless? You'll destroy us." I stared at her. At them. The bitterness I'd kept buried now burned its way to the surface. "I'm not destroying anything," I said quietly. "Victoria made her choice. She destroyed us." But my father wasn't finished. His voice dropped to a steely whisper. "If you go through with this, if you press charges, then you're no daughter of ours. Don't expect anything from us ever again." I didn't flinch. I had seen this coming. 3 days later, the lawsuit was officially filed. There was no sense of triumph. No feeling of victory. Just a heavy, quiet strength. Like I was finally standing up for myself and the life growing inside me. "You did the right thing," Marcus whispered as we left the lawyer's office. "The truth hurts. But it still matters." I said nothing. But inside, I knew he was right. News spread fast. One afternoon, I got a call from Aunt Beth, the same woman who dragged me into the spotlight at that cursed party. "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" she asked, her tone sharp. "Victoria's spiraling. She's more fragile than she lets on." I closed my eyes. "Aunt Beth, I'm not the one dragging this out. Victoria did that. I won't stay silent so others can stay comfortable. I have a baby to protect." She sighed, but said nothing else. The call ended in a silence that said more than words ever could. 3 weeks later, the ruling came in. Victoria avoided jail but was sentenced to 1 year of probation. She was ordered to cover all my medical expenses, complete 6 months of mandatory counseling, and, most importantly, she was hit with a restraining order. She couldn't come within 300 feet of me or my child. I thought maybe, just maybe, my parents would finally back off. But some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed. And some families, you don't lose. They lose you. No, they clung to the same tired excuse. "It's her mental health." That's what they said about Victoria, again and again. "She's been depressed since the wedding was called off, Riley," my mother sobbed over the phone, her voice trembling. "Yes, what she did was awful, I admit. But she needs help, not shame. Not public humiliation." I clenched the phone tighter. "And what about me, Mom?" I asked, my voice sharp, raw. "Did you ever stop to consider how I felt, nearly losing my baby? Do you know what it's like to be shoved down a staircase by your own sister over some twisted jealousy?" My father cut in, voice like ice. "You're blowing this out of proportion. Every family has its issues." Victoria owned up to it. She said sorry. "What more do you want, Riley? Should she be in jail for it?" I swallowed the lump in my throat. "No, Dad. I want her to face real consequences. I want her to understand that you don't get to hurt people and walk away just because you said sorry." Beside me, Marcus sat silently, but his grip on my hand was unshakable, my calm in the chaos. And then, just like that, my mother broke down again, loud, guilt-racked sobs. As if she were the one betrayed. "You'll regret this," she cried. The whole family will turn on you if you keep pushing your sister down this path. I didn't reply. What was left to say when the truth had already been twisted beyond recognition? I hung up. Quietly. Firmly. And for the first time in months, I felt something close to relief. I didn't attend Victoria's sentencing. Not out of fear. Not out of avoidance. But because I didn't need to see those pleading, guilt-laced eyes from the people who once called themselves my family. Later that afternoon, my Aunt Beth called. Her voice, calm. No anger. No pressure. Riley. I'm proud of you. No matter what anyone says, you did the right thing. A soft smile pulled at my lips. Bittersweet. You know, Aunt Beth. That's something I always thought I'd hear from my parents. Days passed. The phone grew quiet. Fewer texts. Less noise. Marcus poured himself into preparing the nursery, painting every trim with care, like he could brush away the pain in gentle, pastel strokes. And that's when it hit me. Family isn't just blood. It's who shows up. It's who stays. As for Victoria, this time, no one stepped in to save her. She would finally face the weight of what she'd done. Then, on a cold March morning with winter barely letting go of Austin, Ethan was born. His first cry echoed through the room like a storm breaking into sunlight, raw, beautiful, alive. Marcus held my hand, his eyes brimming with tears. "Welcome to the world, little man," he whispered. And in that moment, I knew I was home. We named him Ethan. 3 days later, as we settled in with our newborn, his soft breathing, his monitors gently beeping, there was a knock at the door. It wasn't the neighbors. I knew that immediately. Marcus opened the door. There stood my parents. My mother held a huge baby gift basket, tags still dangling. My father, awkwardly clutching a bottle of wine and a giant stuffed bear. Both looked painfully out of place. Riley, my mother beamed as if none of the last 4 months had happened. "We heard you had the baby. We had to come. Your father said we couldn't miss our grandchild's first days." Marcus didn't move from the doorway. His voice, low and clear. "I think you should leave." My mother's smile faltered. She looked past him, desperate. "Riley, please. Let's not do this today. Today is about happiness. About Ethan. Let's leave the past where it belongs." Inside, I held Ethan close, his tiny hand wrapped around my finger. So fragile. So trusting. And I knew, without hesitation, I would never let anyone hurt this family again. "I gave you both a chance," Marcus said firmly. "A chance to stand by Riley. To defend her. To protect her. Instead, you defended Victoria. You left Riley to stand alone." My father stiffened, lips pressed thin. "He's our grandson. You can't keep him from us." Marcus let out a cold, humorless laugh. "You already kept yourselves from him. The day you chose Victoria over your daughter." "Wrong, Mr. Henderson," Marcus said, his voice calm but cutting. "This is our home. Our family. And we get to choose who walks through that door." My mother flushed, indignation flaring in her eyes. "Riley, are you really going to let your husband speak to your parents like this?" I took a step forward, Ethan resting against my chest, his soft breaths grounding me like roots in the storm. The pain from my surgery still throbbed beneath my skin, but in that moment, I felt unshakable. "I've been quiet long enough, Mom." My voice didn't tremble. "But when your pregnant daughter is nearly killed, and you choose to defend the one who pushed her, it speaks volumes." She opened her mouth to respond, but I didn't stop. "You call me heartless for pressing charges? Have you ever once asked what it felt like to be pushed down the stairs by your own sister? To almost lose your baby, while your parents insisted it was just a mistake?" Her face paled. "Victoria's in therapy. She's changed. Riley, you can't throw away your whole family over one moment. I'm not throwing anyone away. I said it softly, but it landed like stone. I'm choosing to protect my son. To break the cycle. Because no child should grow up thinking abuse is just a bump in the road you overlook. Marcus stepped beside me, his hand on my shoulder a quiet shield. We've made our decision, he said. If you continue showing up uninvited, we'll take legal steps to protect our peace. This ends now. The silence that followed was brutal. My father's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing. My mother stood frozen, lips parted but silent. For the first time, I saw the truth settle in their faces, they no longer held power here. Please leave, Marcus said, his voice firm. And don't come back. They lingered for a second, long enough for the reality to sink in, then turned. My mother sniffled as she followed my father down the porch. The stuffed bear and glossy gift basket were left abandoned like a sad afterthought. Marcus picked them up and, without a word, left them beside the trash bin. The front door closed behind him, not with a slam, but with finality. I held Ethan a little closer, my eyes wet but my heart astonishingly light. My family, the one that mattered, was right here. And everything else could stay outside that door. The next morning, before the dew had dried on the porch, Marcus was outside directing a security team. From the window, I watched him, baby in my arms, his focus sharp as he surveyed every blind spot. We can't control what people think, he said, not looking up. But we can control who we allow into our lives. I nodded, a peace I hadn't known in months beginning to settle inside me. This was finally our home. No more guilt-laced phone calls. No more fake apologies. Just the three of us. Small. Whole. Enough. That afternoon, while Marcus rocked Ethan to sleep, I wandered into the backyard. The lavender I'd planted months ago still bloomed, soft, fragrant, quiet. This wasn't just a house anymore. It was a home, a sanctuary, one that Marcus and I built from the ground up, not with bricks and beams, but with courage, choice, and unwavering love. Even with the scars left by blood ties, we found peace in the everyday moments. No more guilt-laced messages. No more whispered judgments passed off as concern. It was quiet now. But a good kind of quiet. The kind where lazy mornings were spent watching Ethan stretch in his tiny sleep suit. Where afternoons were filled with soft giggles and his first attempts at words, "Duh, mama." This was what I vowed to protect. One evening, Marcus turned to me and asked, "Do you think your parents will ever really get it?" I didn't hesitate. "No," I said, softly. "And that's okay. What matters is I understand who's worth keeping close, and who I need to let go." We didn't need to say anything more. Because this wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about proving anything to those who never saw my worth. It was about reclaiming my peace. My self-respect. And creating a future where Ethan would grow up knowing that love comes with safety, not sacrifice. Riley's story is one of bravery, not in the face of enemies, but in standing firm against the pain inflicted by the people who were supposed to love her the most. So many of us stay quiet for the sake of family. We endure toxicity because we're told we owe them something. But Riley's story is a reminder, we owe ourselves peace first. She didn't cut ties out of bitterness. She did it to build something better. What about you? Would you have made the same choice Riley did? Was she being too harsh, or was it the only way to protect her child and herself? Speech balloon, drop your thoughts in the comments, let's talk about it. And if stories like this resonate with you, follow the channel for more real-life reflections that remind us. You're allowed to choose peace. You're allowed to choose you.